It is good to see everyone again today. You remember back when you were young, you were a kid at Christmas time, and you would have a particular gift you wanted really bad, maybe a present, and you would start talking about it about maybe late September, early October about what it was. You start dropping hints to mom and dad. You would tell Santa Claus the things you wanted. And I'm getting ready to date myself here. You would circle it in the wish book, what you wanted, and put it in a place like the counter where someone could see it, and every now and then you'd walk by and you would lean down and you'd go, and you were just ginned up. You were already laying in your bed at night sleeping, thinking about all the things you were going to do, and this gift was revealed to you, and you got it, and your life changed. It's wonderful. So Christmas comes. You're making your way down the hall. You feel a little Ric Flair moving in you. You're going, you open that box up, there it is. It's like a halo over top of it. And you know it's going to be beautiful. And you say, oh, yeah, Lord, here it comes. I've waited for 6 months for this. Here it comes. It's everything. Get you ready for this. You look at brother and sister and go, I don't care what you got. Get what I'm getting ready to get. Look at this. Draw everybody. Get in a circle. It's going to be beautiful. And you open it up. It's the prettiest pair of pants you've ever seen in your life. And a nice shirt, maybe a tie. You look down that box, and you go, Rudolph was here, I'd spit in his eye. You're angry, you're mad at everybody that you can find, and you don't want to talk to anybody. You just reject food, whatever it is, you just want it out of your sight, and you walk off. Now, you've all done that, by the way. Don't act like you haven't. Is that not the way we do God a lot of times? Just think about it just for a minute. We come to God with certain expectations and certain things we want of Him. And when He doesn't reveal Himself in a way that we want, many times react the same ways we do when we open up and find that new pair of Levi's, don't we? If you have your Bibles with you, if you want to follow us on the television, we're going to be looking at 2 Kings chapter 5 this morning. 2 Kings chapter 5, we're going to begin reading at verse number 1. This is what the Bible says. Now Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Syria, was a great and honorable man in the eyes of his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Syria. He was also a mighty man of valor, but a leper. And the Syrians had gone out on raids and had brought back captive a young girl from the land of Israel. She waited on Naaman's wife. Then she said to her mistress, if only my master were with the prophet who was in Samaria, for he would heal him of his leprosy. And Naaman went in and told his master, saying, thus and thus said the girl, who is from the land of Israel. Then the king of Syria said, go now, and I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. Then he brought the letter to the king of Israel, which said, now be advised when this letter comes to you, that I have sent Naaman my servant to you, that you may heal him of his leprosy. And it happened when the king of Israel read the letter, that he tore his clothes and said, am I God to kill and make alive, that this man sends a man to me to heal him of his leprosy? Therefore please consider and see how he seeks a quarrel with me. So it was, when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, why have you torn your clothes? Please let him come to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. Then Naaman went with his horses and his chariot, and he stood at the door of Elisha's house. And Elisha sent a messenger to him, saying, go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean. But Naaman became furious and went away and said, indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of his Lord his God and wave his hand over this place and heal the leprosy. Are not the Abana and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servant came near and spoke to him and said, my father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, would you not have done it? How much more then, when he says you wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his aides, and came and stood before him, and he said, indeed, now I know that there is no God in all the earth except in Israel. Now therefore, please take a gift from your servant. Israel in the times of the kings had a great enemy in Syria. Israel in the time of now has a great enemy in Syria still. Some things never change. But Syria had a great general by the name of Naaman. And Naaman was a powerful general. He was the commander of the host. He was the lead general in Syria, kind of like an Eisenhower or a MacArthur would be to the United States. A big level, 5-star general kind of guy. And he was mighty. God let this man wreak many victories over his people Israel. Because when Israel would sin, God would allow the Syrians to defeat them. And he became a mighty man, except he had one glaring problem. He was a leper. The leprosy in that day and age was kind of like AIDS or Ebola is to us. It's just an absolutely incurable disease. Except not only was it incurable, not only was it terminal, but it would also horribly disfigure you to the point where you couldn't even go out in society. And it was horribly contagious. And you had to just get away from everybody. You had to holler, unclean, unclean, when you saw everybody. We know how all those kinds of things work. Apparently Naaman's was not so bad that he couldn't not be effective as a general. He was still able to act, but he still had this horrible disease that one day would claim his life. But his wife had a little servant girl from one of the times Syria had attacked Israel. She was a little slave girl. And apparently she liked old Naaman. Naaman must have been a fairly upstanding guy, even though he was a Syrian. So there was an Israel. And she said to her mistress, I wish my master Naaman was back in my land in Israel and Samaria, in the town where Elisha is. If he could just get to Elisha the prophet, when he got done with him, he could clean him of that leprosy. Well, Naaman said, he went to the king of Syria and said, your master, well, girl that's in my house, a servant, she was telling me about this man in Israel. I know they're our enemies, but they can cure me of my leprosy, and it's incurable. You gotta let me go. The king said, all right, go. And I'll send a letter with you. Matter of fact, he sent all these presents with him, all this money and changes of clothes and all these things. So one day at the palace in Israel shows up the greatest general that Syria has with a letter from the king of Syria. Now it'd be like, the United States going to one of its enemies and saying, I came down here so you could cure me. You don't typically go to your enemies to get help. So the king of Israel pulls this letter out and he reads it and it says, okay, I've sent my servant Naaman and I'd like for you to cure him of leprosy. And the king of Israel goes, what? Cure him of his leprosy? Am I God? Can I cure a man of leprosy? Nobody can cure leprosy. Still can't, honestly. It still ravages people today. And he said, you got to be kidding me. He starts tearing his clothes and just gnashing his teeth. And he says, this is a con job right here. They're going to come in here and invade us. This is just a trick. Elisha, that great man of God, sends him to him and says, don't tear your clothes. Send him to me. And when I get done with him, he will know that there's a prophet in the land of Israel. So Naaman takes his chariots, he goes straight to Elisha's house, and Elisha runs out, lays his hands on him and cures him, and they all go home. So, Elisha doesn't even come out the house. He sends his servant, Gehazi, to come out of the house. Gehazi walks out and goes, hey, Naaman, right? Yeah, you're the guy with the... Yeah, okay, here's what I want you to do. My master Elisha said, go to the Jordan River, dip yourself in it 7 times, and you'll be clean. Take care of yourself. He goes back inside, shuts the door behind him. Naaman's going. Now here's a man who's a mighty general, 2 steps from being a king. He says, you got to be kidding me, right? I come all the way down here to a foreign nation, our enemy, to be healed from this great prophet I've heard about, and he doesn't have the decency to come out of his house. He sends his messenger, and on top of that, he tells me to go wash myself in the nasty Jordan River. You got to be kidding me. You can't tell me that rivers in Damascus and Syria are 10 times better than that nasty Jordan River. Now, I'm not going to do that. You've got to be kidding me. And he goes in a rage, gets in his chariot, and starts heading for the house. And his servant's riding along the chariot with him and goes, far be it from me, I'm just a private, but I'm just thinking out loud here. Had he asked you to do some great thing, you'd have done it, right? And he said, well, yeah. I thought he would come out and wave his hands to God and call on his God to cure me. And he says, oh, well, you'd have done it, right? And he goes, well, yeah. He says, all the man's doing is asking you to go get in the Jordan River. I think I would do it. And he shames the poor old general into doing it. And he goes and dips himself 7 times in that great river of God. And Jesus himself was baptized. And when he came out that 7th time, that old white leper skin was gone, and his hands were just as pink and clean and smooth as a newborn baby. And he looked at that skin, and he ran back to Elisha. This time he found him. And he ran in the house and fell at his feet, and he said, "Now I know that there is a God in Israel, and no God in Syria or anywhere else is like the God in Israel. And I will serve him the rest of my life." If you kept reading, you'll find out, even when Naaman went home to Syria, he never served anybody but God. Now, we're all a lot like Naaman, and you're going, whoa, I ain't a leper. Be thankful of that, but yeah, you're not. But we're a lot like Naaman because we react to God the same way that Naaman reacted to God many times. We go to God seeking answers. We have things we want of God, but what God answers many times is not what we want. Naaman went to Israel with a set of expectations. He expected Elisha to come out, spin around in a circle, hold his hands up to God like somebody on TV, and lay his hands on him and go, "Be healed," and he would just go off in a fanfare riding his chariot. That's not what God did. God said, "I want you to go down to my river, Jordan, and wash yourself." And everything that he asked of him just blew his mind. It was totally opposite of what he expected and what he wanted. Are we not that way with God many times? When you go to God in prayer, do you have certain expectations? You do, don't you? When you go down your list of things, you have things that you want God to do. And let's be honest, many times all we're asking for from God is a rubber stamp. God, I've laid it out to you. I've given you everything that I need, and I only need one thing from you. Do it. It's kind of like Congress. They write the bills and pass law, and all they want the president to do is sign it. They don't want it to send it back and veto it. They don't want none of that stuff. They want it done. It's like mom and dad when they say, "Do it." I'm not asking for conjecture, and I'm not looking for conversation. I just want it done. As I tell my kids, why? Because I am the adult and the taxpayer in the house, not you. But that's why we approach God. We go to God and we say, "God, I want you to do this. I want you to work this out in my life," especially when it comes to healing. I want you to heal this person. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. But you know, many times God says no. And many times God says no over and over and over and over again. Remember Moses? Remember God told Moses, because Moses had sinned, that he could not enter the promised land? He allowed him to stand on those beautiful peaks of Mount Pisgah and to look over into the promised land, and God pointed it all out to him. He said, "But you won't go." And Moses wrote in Deuteronomy that he said, "I went to God and I besought him. I asked him, I said, 'Will you please change your mind? I've come all this far.'" And God said, "No. And matter of fact, not only no, don't ask me again." God pulled the parent card on him. Not only did I say no, but you won't ask me again. You know what Moses didn't do? Ask him again. Moses died on that mountain. Many times we go to God, but we're not prepared for the answer he gives. But see, God's will and our will is two different things many times. What does the Bible say? God says, "My way is not your way, your way is not my ways." Poor Job spent time and time again arguing with God because what God wanted and what Job wanted were two different things. Naaman wanted two different things from what God wanted. Naaman wanted to be healed in this mighty way. God wanted him to be healed, but he wanted him to realize that the God in the show was him, the God of Israel, not Naaman and not anything Syria could provide. What Naaman wanted and what God wanted are two totally separate things. And many times what we want and what God wants is two separate things. Our will and his will, totally different. Why is that? Because God knows what's best. God has seen. We can't see past right here. We can't see past today. God has seen. God knows what's coming. Remember when Jesus was in the Garden of Gethsemane and he was sitting there, and as he prayed, and he was so intent, he knew the cross was coming. Yes, he was a man, but he was also God. He had the horrible knowledge of knowing the pain that was coming and having to experience it too. And what did he say? "Not my will, but your will be done." Why would he say that? Knowing it was going to be so painful, it was going to be the worst possible death. Because Jesus, I promise you, didn't want to go to the cross if he could avoid it. He did, because he loves us, but he wouldn't want it to if there was any other way, because he knew it was the most horrible way for a human being to die. But why did he do it? Why did he say, not my will, but your will be done? Because he knew the Father's will, that the only way people like you and I could be saved is if he died on that cross and rose again. And that's why he said, not my will, but your will be done, because the Father knew what needed to be done. See, many times, our will's not God's will because he knows what needs to be done. He's seen the end of the story. We're still in the beginning. And that's hard. Sometimes when God tells you no and God says, and he slams the door on you and he just says, absolutely not, don't ask me again, it makes you angry, doesn't it? Be honest. It makes you bitter. It makes you mad at God. Naaman was mad. Naaman was in a rage, a blind rage. He was ready to forego being healed of the worst disease possible, a terminal disease that would have took his life because he didn't get what he wanted. He didn't have to want to play by God's rules, and he was ready to go home. And he was in the chariot, headed to the house, till his own servant embarrassed him, till he went back and washed in the Jordan. Think about that for a minute. But that's what we do. We get angry with God. I've known people in my life that have abandoned everything of God because God didn't answer the prayer they wanted to do, especially when it involved illness and things. Let me tell you something. I don't understand a thing about being bitter. I've experienced that this week. You know, I told Leslie I was thinking about her dad passing, and you know, he has some illness and things, and he had surgery coming up in a couple of weeks, and that was going to take care of most of his stuff. And I was thinking, you know, he had this young man still, he had time with kids. It was just wrong. And I was upset. Until I realized that God's way is better. He knows what we need. He knows what we need before we know to ask. And many times we just have to stop and recognize it. And that's hard. I promise you, it's hard to do. It's hard to stand and just let God tell you when you're going, it's not right. Says it is. Because I will it. Those who pass away and go through those things, we have to understand it. They're better off. That's hard to recognize when you've lost someone you love. It's hard to recognize that they're better off. That God's way's better. And we rejoice in that. We're not sad because we wouldn't want people back to have seen the glories of Jesus Christ. So what do we do then when God doesn't give us what we need and what we want? Oh, it's easy. We trust in him. We trust. Naaman had to sit there and trust God that going to that river would cure him. Even though it violated everything he thought and everything he knew, he had to go do it. Are you a trusting person by nature? We live in a day and age where we don't trust anything anymore. My goodness. Half the time you turn the news on, you don't know if the stuff's true, if it's just the bias of the person saying it. Heaven help if you turn on Facebook or any of that social media stuff. Everything on that thing's a lie. How many times do you get a call from the IRS telling you that if you will go to CVS and get them 4 prepaid cards, they will take care of your tax problem, and that way the sheriff's office won't come and get you? Right? By the way, IRS don't ask you to get a prepaid card from CVS. I'm just throwing that out there. They're a lot meaner than that. You know what I'm saying. Nowadays they use like your phone number. They'll pull up those, 813 or whatever. That's my mobile number. They'll pull that up and you'll see that. Oh, it's got to be someone I know. Hi, this is Joan from such and such. I want to know if you're happy with your cell phone carrier. I surely will be when you hang up. We don't trust anything anymore, do we? We don't. Because everything around us is such deceit. And yet God comes to us and says, you've got to trust me. You've got to trust me. Because I know what's better. And that's hard. But we have to. Naaman had to trust God and go down that Jordan River, even though he didn't want to. And even though he thought his rivers in Damascus were so much better. And trusting God goes hand in hand with one other thing. Obedience. He went down finally and dipped himself in that water 7 times as God had asked him. Sometimes you just got to obey him. God tells you, God pours something on your heart, and you feel it, you have to trust it, and you just have to obey and step out on faith. You know, I can remember when we started Salvation Church, God came to me and said, a long time ago, before I actually took the leap of faith, God came to me and said, I'm moving you on. I realize you've been where you've been your whole life. But it's time to go on. Because I've got to work for you. I'm sending you to an area where the bulk of the people you will meet will not be like you, and most of them are not going to know me, and most of them, if they finish their life in this course, will spend eternity in hell. And I'm sending you to do something about it. It's tall orders. Tall orders from somebody who's been where he's been his whole life. So I told Leslie, I said, let's go. I made a promise, and he made me keep it. So I went. And as hard as those days were for all of us, in the early days, we were trying to find our way, figure out what we're doing. God honors us every single day. We've got to trust and obey. I know that sounds like an old hymn, because it is, but we have to trust and obey. And when Naaman came out of that water, what did he find? Skin like a newborn baby's. You'd kill for that, wouldn't you? Sometimes I just do that in the mirror sometimes to see what it was like, and it was up on my forehead, it was all smooth. Because Chase always says, I know when you're mad, you start going and your forehead starts wrinkling up. I can't do nothing about them, and where it stays that way, and one day it's going to stick. Eyebrows all start doing that, and you look like Naaman came out, and he said, looked at his hands, perfect. That old mangled, deformed skin was just like it was the day his mama gave birth to him. And he ran back to Elisha and said, man, I'm sorry. I know there's a God in Israel, and he's the true God. And I shall worship him the rest of my life. And he did. You see, when you leap out on faith and obey God and trust him and just let him work and realize that what he's got going on is better, he will do marvelous things in your life. And you will see it. It's as if God is looking at Naaman and said, now you get it, don't you? What I was trying to tell you is I was going to cure you all along because I love you. But I wanted you to know that I'm God. And when God got done with him, he knew. And when we let God work, when we let God do his thing, you will know when he gets done that there's still a God in Israel. And there's a God in your life, Jesus Christ. Not my will. Your will be done. That hangs in my house, in my living room. Luke chapter 22, verse 42. Except I got the old King James on it. Not my will, but thine be done. I like that. And every time I get caught up in pride, thinking I got the world figured out, thinking I know everything about everything, I stop and I look at that picture and I see Jesus praying in that garden. And underneath it, not my will, but thine be done. Your life, whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're going through, and I promise you many times it won't be easy. When you think you got it all figured out, when you think you know what's best, you simply stop where you are. You look up to heaven and say, Lord, not my will, your will be done. In a moment, we'll close our service in prayer. Maybe you're here with us and you have no relationship with Jesus Christ. That's where it starts. It all starts by you just giving your life to him. All you gotta do is believe. Naaman expected something big and something hard, and all God wanted to do was just go down and get in the Jordan River. We think that stuff always has to be hard. We make life so hard, and all Jesus says is all you got to do is believe. Believe, will you, today? Well, I pray you just believe. Let the Holy Spirit speak to you and just say yes. If you do that while I pray, at the end of the service, I'd like you to come find me. One, so I can rejoice with you. I like that. I could use a little of that. The other, so we can talk about your next step in baptism. Those of you who know Christ, have you been living the life sometimes thinking that your will's best, or maybe you know things better than you do? If so, just take it to God. Maybe you need someone to pray with you. As we were preparing to have Leslie's dad's funeral yesterday, a friend of mine works through a funeral home. He's a pastor in Stanley, and he stopped and said something to me, and I put my arm around him, and I said, David, I just want you to pray for me. I said, see it, what I got to do is not going to be easy. He said, I've been praying for you all week. If you need someone to pray with you, come see these guys. You stand. Heavenly Father, we just praise your name today. We just lift you up and we just glorify you because your will is best. And although we don't understand it, we don't have to understand it because you hold the world in your hand. Heavenly Father, I just pray that if there's someone here who's desperately seeking what you have, they're just desperately seeking your will, that they will yield their life to you and just believe and just say yes. Oh, I pray that, sir. I pray as we go out in the community this week, Lord God, we see so many people hurting and in need, and we have the answer. Oh, we have the answer in Jesus. And I pray that we will be faithful to take it and to deliver it. For if we don't, who will? Bless us. Oh, bless us. That everything we may do may glorify the kingdom of Jesus Christ. Not our will, but your will be done. In the name of Jesus.